It's the MD warrior. Boy, I'm built for this. Life threw me battle, but I'm still gonna win.
Welcome back to Muscular Dystrophy Warrior. Just like the last video, in every video, a moment of silence for all the fallen warriors who sadly have lost the battle to muscular dystrophy. Sending prayers to all those families who have lost someone with muscular dystrophy. Okay, you guys, for this video, I'm going to be talking about my mental health journey. I know last video was about a tough topic to talk about, life expectancy, living with muscular dystrophy. In this video is gonna be talking about a little bit about another harsh, thing, which is mental health and stuff. And for the next video, I'm gonna be talking about why does social isolation affect people with disabilities and stuff. But for this video, I'm gonna be sharing my mental health journey. So I'll start from the beginning. So right after high school, uh, when I started attending my local community college called Fresno City College here in Fresno, California, and I was there for about 5 semesters, 5 years basically, until I got my associate's degree. Then after that, I transferred to my local four-year university, which is California State University, but better known as Fresno State. Well, I was at Fresno State for 2 semesters. Uh, First semester was online due to COVID. My final 2 semesters at Fresno City College were online as well. One was in person for a few months. Then when COVID hit, we went to online. And second semester was online all from start to finish. So Fresno State, it was like, yeah, every student had to be online for that first semester, which sucked, you know. Then the second semester, they were like, you can go back in person. But they were just gonna have in-person classes, no online classes. So I decided to wait a year, before going back. So I went back the following year. Yeah, so I went back the following year, like I said. And yeah, I passed all my classes. No issue there. But the issue was like my disability was I was getting weaker with my disability. Yeah, I was getting weaker with my disability. There was not a lot of resources to help me. Don't get me wrong, the disabled student services, you know, in both colleges and the university, they had resources, but it was more for, you know, in the classroom, getting someone to take your notes, get extra time. Yeah, get extra time on tests. Yeah, that was my only accommodations that I used, but there's several of them. But those are the ones that I use. Both colleges offer that, but the lack of resources was, you know, those that live with muscular dystrophy, we need help using the restroom, feeding, all that stuff, and they didn't have nobody to help me, with that, like they do in elementary, middle school, high school, that you have someone assist you use the restroom and all that stuff, but sadly, they don't have that at the college and university levels. Same with transportation, how the bus will come and pick you up, the famous yellow bus, that would come and pick you up at your home. So lack of transportation, because most obviously, it's an obvious thing. Most college students are obviously driving. Those that don't have a disability, or those that have a disability but are able to drive. Not a lot of people with muscular dystrophy or any disability drive, you guys. That's the harsh reality. I'm not saying there's no people with disability don't drive, but it's very little. We don't see a lot of that. We see people with disability driving, but most of them they had an accident. But they still have a disability and driving. But someone with muscular dystrophy or other disabilities, we don't see a lot of that, but it does happen. So anyway, so that's why that was another reason why I decided to not continue my higher education. My parents and I decided that. Uh, First, it was fine because I was like I said, I finished the semester, and it was like I was on winter break. But once the month that it was January when the semester starts again, I was good for the first few weeks, but once I knew when the semester started, mentally I wasn't doing that great because in my mindset was like, what am I gonna do? You know, what am I gonna do now? If I'm not gonna be going to school, like there's not a lot I can look forward for. Like, there's not a lot we can do. Those that live with DMD, no, you guys know that there's not a lot we can look forward for. There's not a lot we can do, and stuff. So yeah. So I started feeling mentally I wasn't great. I would do my usual watch TV game, but I wasn't feeling myself, my usual self. I wasn't doing it with enjoyment or watching it like I used to in the past. So I was like that for several months because in my mind I was like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. This is just, it's not gonna be it's gonna be a short-term issue, not a long-term issue. And during that time, a good friend of mine who has SMA type 3, he dropped out college where I used to go first, Fresno City College, because he would get sick a lot. And obviously, every time he got sick, he would have to repeat all the classes all over again, and stuff. So that's why he dropped out. And then he started doing econ, I think, first. I think that's what it's called. And then he started his own YouTube channel and stuff. So he suggested why not start my own YouTube channel, which I did. And it was not this one that you guys are been, following right now and watching my videos. If you guys have been watching them, if you're new and what have you been here since I started, appreciate the support. But if you're new, it's okay. So I'll explain to you. So it was a different channel where I started just uploading gaming, sports. Then at some point I started talking about disability, my disability, muscular dystrophy Duchenne, but I was all over the place, meaning I was posting three different things on one channel. And those that want to start creating their own YouTube channel, I suggest you guys find something you guys, know a lot about, and stuff, and make one channel. If you guys have a lot of hobbies you guys like to share on YouTube, I suggest make several channels. So I was posting that, and I started posting sports and gaming on different channels. I created their own channels. So those were going great. My main one I wasn't having that much success. Plus mentally I was not in the right state of mind. I like to call it I was like some type of dark place in my life. Somewhat of a dark place, not that very dark, like some other people and stuff. And yeah, I was like that for a couple of months until I had an appointment with my neurologist. Uh, I see neurology, I see physical therapy, occupational therapy, respiratory therapist, speech. Uh, yeah, those are and social worker. And when the social worker came in, I explained to them the situation, what was going on. And she found a place here in Fresno, California, where they see people with disability, therapists see people with disability, but they also see people without disability. So I called several times until I got a hold of them and made an appointment with them. It took 2, 3 months before they gave me the appointment, but they sent the paperwork so where I would answer questionnaires questions, about a questionnaire, answering questions, which I did. I answered the question as honest as I could, and then I just waited, waited until the day came, my first therapy session. Let me advise you guys, it was my first time seeing a therapist. Yeah, I've seen a therapist before, physical occupational, but never a psychologist, therapist, they some call them psychologists, some call them therapists, For any reason, I had never seen a therapist for any reason. Like some people that sometimes they have to go as a family due to family issues, abuse, all that stuff. No, never for none of those reasons. I never had to see a therapist. They never suggested it and stuff. So it was the first time. I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. It's something new to me. But my therapist was a good therapist. I'll say she was a good therapist that helped me. So she asked me like first she asked me to ask me to tell a little bit about my story background. She said, then we'll go from there. So I started telling her that I was born with this disability and all that, and this and that. So she took notes and asked me, you know, a little bit more questions about, there'll be certain parts like she wanted me to explain little bit more deeper explanation. So I did. So at the end of that session, she felt like I'd asked her if it was like depression, which she said, looking at everything you have told me and looking at my notes, I feel like you don't have depression. I can, because you still are doing things. When you have depression, the individual doesn't want to do anything, but like you're telling me, you watch TV, you're doing things, but I'll say you are most likely dealing with social isolation, which she was honest about. She said she was honest about it. She's like, elder people and people with disability deal with isolation for several reasons. And in my next video, guys, I'm going to be giving you guys some of the reasons I found and how we can find a solution to fix these issues. So I was in therapy for 2 years. Yeah, it's roughly 2 years and stuff. But yeah, therapy helped me a lot, you guys. I know there's a lot of people dealing with mental health right now that don't want to see a therapist for whatever your guys' reason is. But I suggest you guys do, you know. I know, like, try to find the right therapist. It's hard. But what I learned from therapy is, like, if you don't feel like that therapist helping you, you can always switch. But sometimes it's not the therapist's fault. Sometimes you're not being honest with the therapist. So obviously, if you're not honest, the therapist is just gonna lead you a different route that's not the right route because she's going off what you're telling them. And I was honest, so that's why it helped me. But sometimes being honest, sometimes it's the therapist, you never know, and stuff. So I suggest you guys who are dealing with mental health or have a disability and dealing with mental health, I suggest you guys, get help. I know it can be scary, nervous if you guys have never seen a therapist like myself, or you just don't like to be open about your personal stuff. But with a therapist, you can be open. The therapist is not there to judge you, but instead to help you. Like, I feel like you should be more worried who you share your information when you know, that's not a professional therapist. But if you trust that person, then I'll say, if you really trust that person, I'll say, yeah, you can tell them what you're going through and stuff like that. So I started going through that, like I said, and in 2 years, I started getting better. Right now, I'm in a better place, you guys. So I decided to make this video so I can tell you guys a little bit about my mental health journey. I know it's not that long of a story, but the point is, if you guys feel that you need a therapist, I suggest you guys get help. especially during the holiday season. You know how it's, I don't know, it just seems like sad the days, you know. Some people might have lost someone during the holidays many years ago or recently, or they're going through financial struggles, marriage struggles, uh, feeling lonely, especially those parents that their kids are grown up and they live in a different state and it's hard for them to come see you guys or they don't want to see you guys. You know, everybody's might be dealing with mental health right now, some kind of issue right now. But if you guys are, especially during the holiday season, some people don't have nowhere to spend Christmas with. They don't have food on the table. They don't have a roof over their table. They don't have clothes or something they're going on. You know, I feel like if you know, if you see, I know it's hard to tell, honestly. Like for me, if I look fine, you know. If you guys were seeing me, you'd be like, oh, he doesn't look like he's going through mental health. But mental health is a silent, you know, disability diagnosis because the person might seem happy, but only they know what they're going through in their own home, in their own mind, behind closed doors, you know. So if you feel like a friend, family member, you know, spouse, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend, brother, sister, aunt, grand grandparents, grandmother, grandpa, dad, mom. I feel like you guys should check up on them, you know. A simple text message, a simple call can make their day. You don't know how much that would mean to them. I know everybody has busy lives. Or if you have, you know, a family member, a sibling, or whatever they are related to you, or a friend with a disability, I suggest you guys check up on them. It will, you guys don't know how much that means to them. It might mean a lot to them. And you know, and suggest them to go see a therapist. I suggest you guys can't push the person to go to therapist. They have to accept that they have a problem. Like people that have addictions or going through mental health, you know, they have to accept that they have a problem. Because if you force them to go to therapy, they probably won't go, or if they go, they won't be honest. So yeah, so I thought that's the point of this whole video, you guys. Sharing a little bit about my story, living with muscular dystrophy plus how I was going through social isolation. Uh, Maybe there's someone going through the same thing, and maybe my video will help them, you know, try to find help and stuff like that. But this video is not just for people with muscular dystrophy, it's for everybody in general, because everybody can deal with some sort of mental health issue, but we're more probable to go into mental health, someone with a disability, than someone without a disability, but at the same time, we're all exposed to going through mental health issue for whatever reason, not just disability, financial, marriage issue, or whatever issues, you know. So that's the point of this whole video, you know. Try to make awareness about muscular dystrophy, but also make awareness that muscular dystrophy or a disability plus mental health is a serious combination, you guys. I know I posted something like that on my Instagram and TikTok, but this is like the longer version of it. I talked about my mental health journey a little bit in my part three, living with muscular dystrophy, but you know that I had to focus on all the rest of my story, you know, not just this part. So I decided to make this video focusing on just the mental health part. Well, I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And like I said, hope everybody has a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. And like the great Kobe Bryant said, Mamba out. But in this case, it's MD Warrior out. Until next time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Started from the struggle, now we speaking on it real. Turn the pain into power, now the whole world filled. Every bit, every word, man, I'm keeping it true. If you rocking with the journey, then I'm rocking with you. Came up from the days when they said I wouldn't last. Now I'm out here dropping stories, turning future from the past.